earlier today, and I'm going to read one that's related to teamwork also. Barack Ramini wrote, "To make a revolutionary idea a reality, I understand there must be serious considerations behind the feasibility and functionality of the product, but I don't know how one selects the correct partners for him or her to achieve that goal. My question for Mr. Wozniak would be specifically, what qualities does one look for in people when trying to find partners to make an idea a reality?"
Well, you know what? It takes a lot of disciplines to make a company. If a company is your goal, maybe I'm not going to be able to address that issue very well. Let's say that a product is your goal. That's what it always was with me. And fortunately, I had a lot of the disciplines, from the designer, the idea, coming up with the ideas, designing it, doing the technical work of building it, fixing it, debugging, coming up with new ideas, adding on, writing the software, the hardware, just doing it all. So the whole thing was complete and nobody ever touched it. That was a very lucky, unusual case. The trouble is, that's not a product. It is a design, it is a prototype, it is an invention, just like maybe the Wright brothers plane. But now it takes some work to turn it into a product that will earn a lot of money for a company that can be sold. And Steve Jobs was the good partner in turning something into a product. Why? Because he had experience? No, he didn't have experience. Because he wanted to desperately. I wanted a computer for myself, so we've got design. He wanted a product that was good for a company, and so he was going to find the ways to make sure that manages. The two of us, neither one of us really would have been very successful without the other. In fact, Steve failed. He failed at executing and creating new computers for all the time until he left Apple. He failed over and over and never came up with a successful product like the Apple II on his own. But he did a good job of inspiring the world to the importance of our main product, the Apple II computer, and the importance of computers in people's lives. So that was a marketing side of things. Now you think, okay, you guys were the perfect team. You had the engineering, and you had the marketing and the business side. Steve Wozniak and Steve Jobs. Well, I'm going to tell you the truth. We had an investor, an angel, somebody that we ran into, largely because Steve Jobs was hustling, going everywhere he could, looking for a source of money to make 1,000 computers. We had no bank accounts. We had no savings accounts. We had no money. We were in our young 20s. We had no business experience. But Steve ran into this guy, Mike Markkula. Mike Markkula not only invested in us, he joined our company, ran marketing, head of marketing, and we were a marketing-driven company at Apple. And Mike Markkula told us to hire a president, and here's the reason, and here's his roles and what he does. You hire an operations person here, you hire a testing person, you hire the accountants. He knew how you set up the company. So really, we might have failed just on ourselves. We were lucky to get that mentorship from somebody who had already been through it. We went the slow step. The first step was about half a year to a year, called the garage era, where we kind of put out a little product by itself. We sold a few, we made $10,000. That's like $20,000 today at least. And we established ourselves and we were ready for the big step. But we weren't by ourselves. It would have been very difficult to imagine coming up the right formulas to really create the Apple computer you know today.
So would you maybe suggest finding people that have skills you don't have?
When I suggest finding the people that have skills you don't have when it's time, when you need them. I developed the computers, and then Steve Jobs came into town, and he saw them. They were already built. And he said, oh my gosh, we can sell this. Because he always said that he had no money. That was, by the way, that was a blessing. I had no money growing up. I did a lot of projects with no extra money, and they were always great because you had to design things with very few parts at very low cost if you had no money. And I also did great things because I had never done them before, but I was so smart I could figure out how to do it better than you find in the books, better than people were doing it. Steve Jobs desperately wanted money any chance he got. For 5 years, he would come into town about once a year. He'd see the latest thing I had designed, and he would turn it into money. And we'd split the money.
That sounds good.
No, but he had a strong motivation to not just let something be given away. The Apple I computer design, I had given away. It's in the public domain. Apple doesn't own it. It was given away before Steve Jobs even knew the computer existed. But not with the Apple II. We had the Apple II. We were showing off the Apple II before we ever shipped an Apple I. We knew that the Apple I was just a little interim product to make us feel like we were something.